Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brass Chats. It's the first time I've been presenting on the series since we've relaunched with the new name. My name's Alex Parker. I'm Brass Bands England's Partnership and Relationship Development Manager, and I'm joined by the ever-present in the Brass Chats world, Sarah Bauman. We've got a really exciting guest today for bands all over the country, and that is Duncan Parker from Crowdfunder. Hi, Duncan. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. We should point out we're not related. Otherwise, we could be accused of nepotism or something, Alex.
Yeah, it was us. Although we both have history of Salvation Army families, so we've never quite worked out if there is a.
No,
I'm convinced you're related somewhere.
Yeah, we need to find out. Yeah. We need to do the math.
So the reason we're talking about crowdfunding today is that in the latter part of November and December, we're running a new crowdfunding campaign, which is a national campaign that Brass Bands England, along with Crowdfunder, are putting together and supporting in order to promote what bands are doing in your general fundraising, because we know lots of bands do fundraising at this time of year, and so it's how can we help you earn more money out of the activities you're already doing, and also incentivize people to give a little bit more and hopefully raise those funds that you need to keep going throughout the rest of the year. As we know, lots of bands rely on the fundraising they do at this time of year. Some of you may not be able to do everything that you usually do. You may not be able to go caroling in supermarkets, for example. We know that some people are struggling with that. So again, this is another way of being able to earn some money in a different way to the way that you normally do. We thank Duncan and the Crowdfunder team very much for supporting that, because they've been really brilliant partners on the project, starting with the fact that they've waived all of the fees for bands that want to get involved. So thank you for that, Duncan. Tell us a bit more about Crowdfunder, Duncan.
Okay, so Crowdfunder's a fundraising platform. We call it a reward-based crowdfunding platform. The idea is that on our platform, you can incentivize people to be really generous. So they can do normal donations and give, as you would on any fundraising platform. But ours is quite special in that we also have a functionality where you can offer something in return for people's generosity. So the example I was using in the brass band world is someone could pay for you to come and play Christmas carols on their street to join in a mince pie and mulled wine evening or something. And you can offer that as a reward. So someone might pay £150 and you can send a quartet round to play carols for the evening. So we offer that as a very unique offer and functionality. We're a platform that really cares about community. You will only see projects on the platform that do some sort of good socially or environmentally. And probably another USP of ours is that hyper local. So we really love hyper local projects. So yeah, that's a bit about Crowdfunder. We love projects that matter. We love the brass band campaign because we know brass bands are really at the heart of communities often. I always say I'm from a coal mining background in Shirebrook, not far from where you live, Alex. My granddad was the colliery bandmaster, and as you said earlier, I was brought up in Salvation Army brass band. So this is a campaign really close to my family's heart, and we know the importance of brass banding. We know the importance of music, and we know you've had a hard time in the brass band community over the last 2 years. So keen to help.
Well, I can tell you now, if there's a band out there that's going to be putting out little groups for donations, I will be doing one, because I know that my neighbours will absolutely love it if we get a band to come and just play for our little collection of houses. Brilliant. Sarah, tell us a little bit more about this year's campaign.
Mm-hmm. So for those people who took part last year, they'll know that the campaign title was Save Our Brass Bands. And that was really in line with what we needed last year. everything was, we're still in a period of uncertainty, but it was very uncertain around last Christmas. Certainly, it really felt like a fight for survival. So although there are lots of people who still feel like they need that energy behind this year's campaign, that's not the main focus of it. What we really want to focus on is making sure that bands have the money to thrive, not just survive. That's what we really want to fight for. So this year we're going for brass bands at Christmas. We're hoping that this is going to be the start of an annual campaign. We want to keep this going every year so that the general public, the communities that you play for, connect the dots that brass bands and Christmas belong together. That's the start of this. And within that, you can crowdfund for whatever project works well for you. So people that we've been speaking to this year who have started getting their pages together, it's really, really broad ranging what they're fundraising for, which is brilliant, because that helps us advocate for you as bands to show what you are capable of in a really, really broad sense. So some people are crowdfunding for their youth projects. Some people are crowdfunding to buy new instruments, some people to fix their buildings, and some people are just crowdfunding for general funds. It's really, really broad, and it's just about what works for you this year.
I think that's really important. Whilst we're running a project here and a marketing campaign that we're going to go out and reach the newspapers, try and get on the TV. We got to the radio last year. We're going to do all of that again, and we're going to do that for bands across the country. Your project is all about you. It's what you raise, and the money goes straight to you. It doesn't come through any other organisation, and what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it in terms of what rewards you offer, how much you reach out to your individual supporters, those kind of things. So I think that's where it's really a powerful way of brass bands just becoming that bit more present in the things that they already do at this time of year. And we know that it's really important. So the campaign is going to be running from the 17th of November through to the 17th of December. Although you can run your own campaigns a little bit around those dates if there's a reason to, or that you think you can sustain it. And the other thing at the moment, it's really important that you start to think about what you're going to do. Planning for a crowdfunding campaign is half of the battle. If you're able to have a plan that you're going to maybe introduce different rewards as the campaign goes along, that's a way of reinvigorating the campaign partway through. But getting started and starting to build your page now is the way to get going. And so you can do that by going to crowdfunder.co.uk/brassbands. And there's lots of advice on there. You can also go and see the webinars that Sarah, Duncan, and myself have been doing since the early October, where we talked to you about what crowdfunding is, how it works, how to expand your collection of people that you're reaching over time, then how to build your page. Duncan and his team have put together some excellent resources for that. And then Claire, who works for us as our marketing manager, she's put together some graphics and some example copy that you can use for your own pages. So to pick those up, go to bbe.org.uk and click on what we do, and there's a page all about the Crowdfunder there, and you can get your way to the resources and download the things that you need for that. I've also had a couple of bands that have really, and I'm really pleased they've done this, they've already booked a number of caroling performances before they've even gone live, so that they know that they've got about 10 people who are ready to donate some money on the day that they launch the crowdfunding campaign to secure their booking for people to come around and play carols on their streets. So those street carols really are powerful, and people are ready to book those now because they know that the slots will disappear if you've got them, if you're going to be in a certain area on a certain date. So it's a really good way of making sure you get 10% of your money on that first day. And Duncan, do you want to tell us why that 10% is really important?
Absolutely. So depending on what your target is, we always say on day one, do not launch until you know you've got 10% on your page. The reason being, statistics tell us, and we've had 200,000 projects go through our platform, so we've got some decent data here. if you have 10% on day one from a number of people who want to support your project before you start promoting it, you're well over 85% likely to hit your target. If you have 30% by the end of week one, you're 97% likely to hit your target. That's the statistics across 200,000 projects. And we can see really clearly those that don't listen to that advice and start on zero and then go out to the world and say, hey, would you like to support us? No one wants to be first. I don't know why that is. It's human nature. I've got no detail as to why that happens, but those projects just never get there. They really struggle. So that's the biggest piece of advice that we can give you is make sure you've got some people lined up on day one to get you to 10%, and by the end of week one to get you to 30%. After that, you'll find that you get into a rhythm and that people start to give and they start to become more generous. They start to share it with their friends. You get more confident and share it with more people, and you'll get to your target.
I think it's just that people like to back a winner, don't they? So once you're showing that success breeds success. You get those first 10% of people to tell other people about it, and the message just must go out like a spider's web.
I think as well, some people's experience with crowdfunding is that if it doesn't hit the line, then no one gets any of the money. So I think some people have the feeling that if it's not already rolling success already, well, there's no point donating because they're not going to get the money in the end point as well. So I think there's a lot of psychology behind that, in terms that people want to know that their money's going to something that's successful and that is actually going to come off as well.
Yeah, but it's worth saying on our platform, you can choose your project to be where you keep what you raise. So if you don't hit your target, you still get what you have raised. You right at the beginning, when you start to build your page, that's the big question we ask you. So if it's a ring fence project, i.e. you want to buy the new band hut, it's £250,000. And if we don't raise it, we can't buy it. Mm-hmm. That's something where you do all or nothing. If it's just to raise money towards your youth band or to buy a few instruments, if it gets you halfway there, that's good enough. Then keep what you raise is the right option. You should only choose hit the target or we get nothing if it really makes sense to the story of what you're raising money for. It's worth saying those ones raise 30% more. You might have seen something on the news a few months ago, Park Lane Stables. They needed to raise £1 million in 48 hours. Otherwise it was a riding for the disabled stables and it would have folded. And they happened to be on the kind of morning news with some celebrity support. And about 24 hours later, not only had they raised the million, they'd raised 2 million. And it was just because the story made sense. If they didn't raise this money, they couldn't keep the stables. So you get the idea. It's got to make sense to the story.
Yeah, and I think there's that pressure behind it if it's all or nothing that is easier to push people to say, well, we need to do this or we've lost everything. And I think if you've got a strong story, a strong goal and a good team behind you where you can put the energy into it, it can work really, really well. Yeah. It's a gamble.
It is a gamble, yeah.
So I think you've kind of just touched upon some of the other reasons that your band should engage with these crowdfunding projects. Not only is it a chance to raise some funds for your band, it's a really good team building exercise because these work really well if you've got a team. I know that, Duncan, you've talked before about how you can tell when a project's got a team behind it because you get different ideas coming forwards, different tones of voice that appeal to different people at different times.
Yeah, and it's multidiscipline running a crowdfunder project. You want someone that has the technical ability to kind of communicate a story on a digital page. So who's going to make the video, the piece to camera? Who's going to be the person that you film? Is it the bandmaster? Is it someone else in the group that is much better on camera? Who's got the skills to hold the camera still? These things don't have to be Hollywood productions, but a selfie video is often the right way forward. That very authentic ask of why you're raising money could be stitching in some footage of the band if you think that that's helpful, but then you want someone that has the energy and the time to really market it, to get out there and push it on social media. But you also want someone that can do more the hard yards of going around the local town, speaking to some of the local businesses, trying to get rewards out of restaurants, cinemas, some of the larger companies in your town, that kind of thing. There's so many different roles in building a crowdfunder that one person can't do it all, not well anyway. You need kind of a good team, 4, 5, 6 people who are really committed to it. And then make sure you task each of your sections to go out and raise money. Make sure you're playing the cornets off against the horns, against the barries, against the youths, against the trombones. You get the idea. And see who can raise the most money, because under each of your projects, you can have fundraisers. So I can fundraise for the main project and have my own page where I go into work and raise money with my friends and colleagues for that. So you can either have individual competition or you can have sectional competition or whatever it may be. But all that functionality is there to really help you raise more money. And when you divide your target into more manageable chunks, by section, by individuals in the band, by supporters, by ambassadors, those kind of things, patrons, it becomes really achievable because everyone's got to raise £200 or £300, and it's much more achievable, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that, with anything that your band is doing outside of crowdfunding, just running the band, you should never be doing it alone. You should always be trying to find the people in who can pull in their little bit of expertise. But you have a group of people with a wide variety of different jobs that work in all sorts of different sectors and remits that have skill set that you can pull together to make a really, really strong team. So find what people's passions are, find out what they really enjoy doing, and lean into that, because that's how you're going to get people who are really, really engaged into making the campaign a success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that idea of getting the sections to compete against each other. If you've got the front row, the back row, the horns, the baritones and euphoniums, the trombones and the tubas, well, you've got 6 groups there. If they each raised £100, there's £600 towards your target. It really makes those small amounts add up when you start to amplify it like that.
Devastated you left the percussion section off there, Alex. You're dead to me now.
Sorry about that. I'll be in trouble. What sort of money should people be thinking about when they're thinking about planning something like this? Because I know that some bands will have seen last year that there were bands that raised 10, 11, 12, 13,000 pounds, and some that just raised £1,000. So does that make a difference to what people should think about?
It does. I think you need to, there's a number of things you should consider. You need to map your own crowd, and there's a load of resources out there for you, and actually just understanding who's likely to support you. And we've got some tools to help you do that. So that's number one. And then you can take a bit of a view of how likely are we to raise 1,000 or 10 or 50 or 100,000 pounds from that crowd that we've mapped. The other thing you need to really is going back to that 10% thing. Often we work backwards. What can you raise? How can you make 10 phone calls and know that 10 people are going to give? And how much are they going to give? If it's £10,000, you're likely to raise £100,000. If it's £1,000, you're likely to raise £10,000. So sometimes work backwards from that. What's the 10% that we can do really easy, making those first 10 telephone calls of who's going to support us? But then the real way to do it is, what do you need money for? It's that authenticity of story. And it could be the band room, and that's a lot of money. And this could just be a stepping stone to getting the full amount of money, or it could be the whole shebang. Is it new instruments? Is it to set up a learners group, a youth band, an outreach program? There was a really lovely one last year where a band, they weren't even, it was under the Save Our Brass Bands, but actually what they were doing was a give it back campaign to their own community. And they raised money for a local child food poverty program, like a food bank. So they didn't even raise money for themselves. They just gave back to the community and said, hey, we're going to do this for our community and for food. And they just said to the food bank, what makes a real tangible difference? Okay, you need £5,000. We'll go raise £5,000. So it's around, in priority order. What's the story? What do you need money for? That's where you start. Then really understand how much money do you think you can raise from your crowd? Does that make sense? Once you've mapped your crowd, and can you get that 10%? They're the 3 most critical things. And when you map the crowd, the thing we talk about is propensity to give. And there's 2 really important words in that. One is proximity. So how close are they to you in terms of relationship? Like, do they know who you are? Have you got to do some brand building and storytelling? And then affinity. So do they care that your band exists, and why should they care? So affinity and proximity, really, the sum of that gives you propensity to give, and those three things are the most important thing.
You actually touched on something there without knowing it, but lots of bands will fundraise across their Christmas period, not just for themselves, but for other charities and
Sure.
support other local groups as well. And you can do that through this as well.
Yes,
the money that you raise, you can have a nominated beneficiary charity that you're going to be supporting as well. So again, it's additive to the things that you may be planning on or wanting to do already. Shall we talk a little bit about some of the new features on the platform for this year? Do you want to give the headlines or?
I'm very happy to. So since for those of you that joined in the campaign last year, there's a few new things, but I'll start at the beginning because some of you might not have used any of them. So we talked about reward-based crowdfunding. So that's offering an incentive. So you can do that through, we'll come and play in your street, or you can come and conduct the band at a rehearsal, or you can come and sit, behind the tuba section in our next gig and really feel the power of what's going on there. You can really offer loads of things that are either band related, or if there's some businesses in your community, either represented by the people in your band or just that are supportive of you, go to them and get some rewards as well. If you go to places like Wagamama or Nando's, those kind of places, they have free charity meals. So you just go in and say, hey, we're a charity, and you can get 5 meals for 4 people just for free. And you can just, you can give those as incentives, just as an example. Be more creative than me, though, come up with your own. Then we've launched something that's close but not quite the same, which is a prize draw facility. So if you've got one really good thing, and that could be, I don't know, a weekend in a cottage somewhere. If one of your band members owns a second property or something like that, you can prize draw that kind of thing and do a really low entry point for people to join in. £5 in at the next concert. Just get a QR code, another functionality. We'll give you a QR code directly to your page, and during your concert, you can have the QR code on the back of the program or on the back of the chairs. People can scan that, pay £5 and join in on your prize draw, and you can even pull the prize that evening for a bit of fun. But it's a really great live way of doing some crowdfunding. And we've just launched in recent days regular giving. So what happens is when I donate to your band, it says thank you very much, Duncan, for your donation or your contribution. Would you now like to give regularly to this band? You obviously love them. They're looking for regular donations. Would you like to become a regular giver? And I think in your world, Alex and Sarah, you see this as kind of a bit like the patron scheme that many bands will have, and a really nice way to make that ask of people.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, the 2 really exciting features this year that are going to help people during the campaign period, but also beyond, are the QR code and the regular giving, because it is a platform ready for you to use. You don't, and that's there all in one place. You don't have to pay separately to set up payments and all of that. It's all there and easy to use. And to get those people who are already invested in your band, who are there, or that you bring on board during the course of the campaign, there's a feature there that says, well, you can keep in touch with them regularly. They're going to donate regularly. And that means that beyond the point of the campaign period, you've really made the most of that. And I think that's a really, really exciting feature for this year.
Yeah, and I think developing those friends of or patron schemes, however you want to call it, there's a really important future income stream then for the band, because it allows you to I think Duncan probably know better than me, but there's a great disincentive to stopping once you've signed up to a regular donation like that. People do it for a long time without wanting to switch it off, partly because they might not want to, they might not want to be rude or however, but it does mean that people continue to give for a long time, and that allows you to have a very predictable and plannable income stream to the band, which allows you to do that. So when you're thinking about that, if you are saying to people, would you like to donate, make sure you tell them what else does that patron scheme have. Do you put on a concert once a year just for your patrons, or is it that they get a ticket to one of your concerts each year, or do they get a mince pie for free at the interval at the Christmas? Whatever you do to help incentivize people to join your patron scheme, maybe a newsletter, those kind of things, make sure that's in what you're telling people about when you ask them that. And you may have different levels, however you set it up. So it's a really good way to reach out to people.
And I think also making clear what, you've made clear you should have done in your campaign page about why donating on a one-off is going to benefit your band. You've made that really, really clear during that page. Having some more follow-up about what regular giving means and what difference that's going to make is really important as well, because that's going to be probably different than what that crowdfunding pot is. Someone giving regular giving, that might mean that 2 children get free access to the band for the next year. That's really, really powerful. And that's not necessarily going to be messaging that's part of the core campaign.
Yeah. So just some other functionality. Obviously, we have a gift aid opt-in. So if you're a registered charity, your band, then gift aid is receivable on pretty much all the donations and some of the rewards. I won't go into detail on that because there's lots of help on the Crowdfunder site around that, or we can speak directly. But we facilitate gift aid. We have a really cool dashboard for you as the project owner, so you can see what's working for you. So if you publish something on Facebook about your campaign, you can see whether that had a really good hit rate, or whether Insta was working better for you, or whether the TikTok video you released was really engaging and converted into donations. And you can really start to manage the campaign. It tells you what you're tracking towards on your target, so you know if you need to put a bit more effort in or whether you're in good shape, all of those things. And then it also helps you capture all of the donor details of those that have opted in. And the opt-in levels are: do you want to hear more about this project? Do you want to stay in touch with this band? Would you like to stay in touch with Crowdfunder? So we're in there as well. And as you would imagine, it's well over 50% say yes to the project. Well over 25% say yes to the band, and very few people join in on the, as a percentage wise, join in on the Crowdfunder. But we've still got 2 million people signed up on that, which is kind of interesting, that people have used our platform. So one of the things that's interesting about that, and the reason I mention it, is that if we know that people like music, or they're based in your geography, so they're in your town and they've used Crowdfunder before, we're likely to show them your project once you've got to 30% plus. So our algorithms go, oh, people like this project, so they're at 30% already in week 1. We should start showing the good people of Grimethorpe that the band is crowdfunding. And so we start showing it to people in Grimethorpe, or if they like music and are in the surrounding area, we're likely to start the algorithms kick in. It's not a manual process. There's an automation there that we start showing. So it's another incentive really for you to really get out there, get lots of people supporting your page, because then we start to show it to other people as well.
And I think, because every time we talk, Duncan, I'm always amazed how much there is a science to crowdfunding. And just to hammer the point home, it's about how much planning you do in advance of the campaign. So don't wait until the 17th of November for our launch day to go, oh, we should join in on that. Now is the time to do that planning. Think about what your rewards are going to be. Think about what you're trying to get out of it. Are you more focused on regular giving through for a patron scheme, or are you raising for a certain item, whatever that story is going to be? And so and getting people to look at it in advance, give you some feedback. We've all, I'm sure, written things, and then people have said to us, actually, that's not very good, or you could write it differently. Make sure you've got a bit more of a story about the individual. I liked that bit, but I wasn't really bothered by the band was started in 1884 and that bit that everyone writes on their website and no one's interested in, or at least not at the first thing that they read about the band. Go and make sure you get that planning. I just want to circle back to those QR codes, because I've also noticed there's more ways that you can use these as well. So you can get a QR code that just takes people to your page, and they can see everything that's going on. But you can also just set it up so that it takes them straight to the payment screen for something like a £5 or a £10 donation. So if you are out caroling, you can put one of these QR codes up. People take a photo, and it just says donate £5. Off you go. And you could put a couple up. You could put a £5 or £10 ones. But putting something more than just £1 or something encourages people to give a little bit more.
And having that pre-done with the amount, it's not massive barriers, you're not doing that, but the less steps that you've got between them actually processing the payment, the better. And even if it's slightly more than they were intending to donate, they might have walked up intending to give £2, but if you've got a £5 option, that's easier for them to do, they're more likely to do that.
Yeah, or if you're selling CDs while you're out caroling, you can do it that way as well. Here's your £10 option. It's all very doable.
And then you don't even have to worry about posting the CD out afterwards if you're trying to deliver on those rewards. Yeah. And the other thing that you can think about is, we all know that when you're out caroling and playing, footfall is the most important thing in terms of how much money you're likely to get. But we also know that there's a lot of people on the internet compared to how many people might be walking down your high street. So if you are out caroling, make sure you get a video that you tweet or your Facebook or your Instagram, and follow it up with a QR code so that when people see that live stream, the top of the comments box is, and here's the QR code to donate. So you're making sure that you're putting that QR code and that ability to donate in front of as many people as you physically can.
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to do a quick reminder for anyone who's watching that this isn't a campaign that's exclusively for BBE members at all. This is open to everyone, and the access to the platform, the access to support by us and by Crowdfunder is available if you're not a member as well. This is a sector-wide project that we want to support everyone that wants to get involved. And we've had people certainly last year, but I know people who are thinking about joining this year from Northern Ireland, from further afield than that. And if you want to take part, then we'll be here to support you as much as we possibly can. We've got all of the resources that are available. So the webinars and the drop-in sessions are free, available to everyone, and the recordings of those are all available too. We have a Facebook support group, which I'll make sure the link is in the video for you to join, but also feedback on your pages that we can give you, and cheering you on and giving you regular updates throughout the campaign. That's what we're here to do.
And last year it became a bit of a therapy session at times, when people were kind of feeling a bit like they'd run out of steam, didn't know where to go next. So we'd come on usually a sort of Friday afternoon. We'll have a bit of a chat with people, see how you're getting on, give you a bit of homework or things to get on with that weekend or that week, so that you've always got new ideas, new ways of reinvigorating your campaign and keeping it fresh, keeping it live. And I know that's a really important one, and we do it on Facebook to make sure it's there for everybody. And so if you are looking for the group, I'm sure the link will be available, but you can go and search for #BrassBands@Christmas campaign, and you'll find the Facebook group there, and just request to join, and we'll let you in. So is there anything that we've missed, everybody?
I think the final thing from me would be follow the rule book. Crowdfunding know what they're talking about when it comes to running a crowdfunding campaign. They will give you all of the tools to do it. If you follow their guidance, you will do well. And we can see when people are starting to set up their pages, and when people start in those first week or so, we know the pages that have followed the rule book and the ones that haven't. And we will try our hardest to support the ones who have put the effort in, because we need to back the successful ones as well. We will try our best to help everyone, but if you've put your effort in, then we'll 100% be there to support you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Good luck with all your campaigns, everybody at home. Make sure you go to crowdfunder.co.uk/brassbands and go and get started on your projects. And we'll see you throughout the campaign starting on the 17th.